multiple rounds of severe weather is expected today, tomorrow, and also into Tuesday as the ring of fire pattern continues. I will first spend a few minutes on taking a look at today, and then I will start talking about tomorrow, and then start talking about Tuesday, and then as the pattern will finally start to quiet down a little bit as we get deeper into next week or this upcoming week, depending when you see this video. As we move into we currently have a complex pushing through Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin right now, as forecasted. This complex will continue to push east throughout the afternoon hours and probably weekend as it continues to move east into more of a stable atmosphere. However, this is pinching the warm sector and washing out the entire warm sector right now, and that may lower the risk for weather later today. That is, a bust potential here is that the atmosphere won't recover back in time by this evening to get more storms to initiate. However, this complex will drop an outflow boundary along the I-80 corridor in northern Illinois into Iowa, and that will be the focus area to get storms to initiate off of as soon as this evening, but maybe not until after sunset even. At this time, there's plenty of uncertainty on when storms will initiate and how much storms can mature. But in any storms that can mature will have the chance to produce very large hail, damaging wind gusts, and also a chance for isolated tornadoes for any supercell or cluster that can latch onto the outflow boundary and stay surface based. Any storm that goes north of the outflow boundary will likely go elevated. That will lower the chance for tornadoes, but will still have a large hail and damaging wind threat. As we move to about sunset time frame, or a little bit earlier, this complex may be to re-strengthen this evening as it moves further east, southeast, east of Lake Michigan, and that will allow for change force weather to happen into southern Michigan and maybe into northern Indiana. The main threat with this one will be damaging wind gusts. I don't think that there will be much of a tornado threat with this complex, but as storms initiate further west along an outflow boundary into northern Illinois, maybe northern Indiana, we can get new storms of fire. And for as far east as eastern Iowa later this evening, this will pose a risk for all hazard event to take place with a chance for tornadoes again with any supercell that can latch onto the outflow boundary. These storms will move east and train over each other well into the overnight hours. So I'm thinking here that if there's going to be a tornado, it's going to be messy. It's going to be rain wrapped tornado, but there may only be a pretty short window for that because you have storms that continue to override each other rather than having a pretty discrete supercell take place. You're gonna have a lot of storms clustered together at once, but this will likely also increase the chance for flooding. Heavy rain for 3 to 4 hours straight will likely lead to localized flooding with rainfall totals up to maybe 2 to 4 inches, and again, very isolated areas into northern Illinois and northern Indiana as well. But there will still be a damaging wind threat through much of the overnight hours as this complex continues to push southeast into Indiana. We will have a pretty organized complex in place into the early morning hours tomorrow morning that will continue the threat for damaging wind gusts, maybe a isolated tornado, but the damaging winds will likely be the main threat with this complex through the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning. As we move to about 7 a.m. or so tomorrow morning, this complex continues to dive southeast into eastern Indiana as well, but then at that point, it's starting to get out of the area that I cover, and we will have maybe isolated showers around tomorrow morning for portions of South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, but they don't look to get too too bad until we get to about early afternoon hours tomorrow. We will likely have another boundary set up tomorrow morning, or about midday tomorrow. This could be further south. This model has a further south boundary placement because of the complex that dives southeast tonight that will push the warm sector further south. This could shift a little bit further north though, depending on how that complex evolves tonight, and if it doesn't even develop, this boundary will be to move further north. But either way, if where it goes, we will likely have more clusters of thunderstorms along the boundary tomorrow afternoon into the evening time frame. For the same areas as before, portions of Illinois, Indiana, into Iowa, this model doesn't have too much going on elsewhere rather than further east, but I would think that there will be a decent chance for weather as far west as Iowa and maybe up to South Dakota again, as you will have a very sharp gradient for storm fuel and moisture in place in a pretty large area over the Corn Belt, as we've been talking about so many times now. Maybe as we move into the late Monday evening hours, tomorrow evening, you may get a chance for some severe weather into Nebraska and to South Dakota. This model is trying to pick that up now. But again, I don't think this solution will verify. I do think we have more severe weather around, and I will show a different model, a different solution that will show us once we get done talking about tomorrow night and into Tuesday morning. Now, this model, the environment will be very favorable. So this model does have that gradient pushing a little bit further north tomorrow night, at least north slightly, and it does develop a complex because of a pretty localized, but it's like a embedded shortwave trough that will push into South Dakota. This will allow for a long-lived complex to happen. It develops into South Dakota late tomorrow night, and it will continue to dive southeast into Tuesday morning, and into Tuesday morning hours. A pretty fast-moving southeast moving complex that would happen tomorrow night into Tuesday, and this would have the chance to produce intense wind gusts for portions of Iowa and South Dakota. If this would verify, again, it is a very favorable environment that will be in place, and I will show that later in the video as well. But this is an interesting look. It looks like we will have more rounds of weather today, tomorrow, and into Tuesday before we start to get a little bit of a quieter pattern as we get into deeper into this upcoming week. Now, this different model has storms developing as soon as about sunset or even earlier this evening. This is mainly for northern Illinois, but it also maybe two portions of eastern Iowa as well. And pretty robust clusters of thunderstorms this evening, so pretty similar to the HBLAR actually, the other model I showed. And then tomorrow it doesn't have too much happening tomorrow until you get into the evening hours. You may be able to get some late tomorrow night. You may be able to get some clusters of thunderstorms to take place. Now this model also has this cluster developing into portions of South Dakota tomorrow night. Just midnight tomorrow night, just like the other model, it has that cluster developing into South Dakota and pushing southeast as well. It's a lot different solution, but it does have it developing at least. So that's a thing there. It has a complex developing far east as Illinois and moving southeast as well. So again, clusters of severe thunderstorms over the next few days on the sharp gradient of storm fuel over the Corn Belt will obviously continue. That's a thing that we have very high confidence in. Now, taking a look at the storm fuel that will be in place for all these days. Now, this is a look at zonewatch.com. There is a subscription if you want the pro features. You do get a lot more features on the pro side, and there's also a 7-day free trial. So if you want to see this and you want to see how it goes, you have a free trial, and if you like it, you can subscribe to it. Then, now taking a look at tomorrow morning, we will have, I need to change model around. Taking a look at tomorrow morning, or tonight, we will have that sharp gradient of storm fuel in place for portions of Iowa and down into the Wisconsin-Illinois border. We will have very, very high storm fuel in place in Iowa, Nebraska, and into Illinois. On the edge of this boundary, that is where you get them storms to develop off of, and that's a very common thing. So again, a very unstable atmosphere will be in place. Now for tomorrow, we will have the same thing in place. This gradient, we will have very high storm fuel in place. This model doesn't have any storms developing in this area, but I wonder if this would happen as early as tomorrow. Let the noon if we can get storms to fire. But if not, this complex that it tries to develop late tomorrow night, there will be a very sharp gradient in place of storm fuel from nothing almost to 4,000 plus joules of storm fuel, and you go from low 60 dew points to low 70 dew points. This boundary at this time meant this cluster at this time that you can see right here, without this gradient, this would allow for a very intense cluster to take place tomorrow night and into Tuesday morning. So this is a thing that we really need to keep an eye on for Tuesday morning through 300 plus miles, maybe a damaging wind gusts. That would be awesome. That'll be getting close to the ratio criteria as well. But again, we are pretty far out from this. But that is definitely a look that we need to see. Now this is a different model. For same thing, we have a pretty sharp gradient in place tomorrow night with very high storm fuel. This has 6,000 joules of storm fuel tomorrow night. This would again allow for a closer to red, this gradient tomorrow night. This model has a different solution a little bit, but a very similar track on that. And then for Tuesday as well, we will have a lot of storm fuel in place over the Corn Belt region that would allow for more rounds of weather through Iowa and Nebraska, well, mainly Iowa into Illinois for Tuesday again. So again, just repeat thunderstorms over the same exact areas over the coming days. Now, one last time before I wrap this video up, to wrap it up, we have a complex happening right now, but we will have a round of severe weather tonight, which is Sunday night, a round of severe weather Monday evening and night, and Tuesday morning, and then we will have another round of severe weather Tuesday afternoon into the overnight hours, and then maybe Wednesday as well, but we will definitely start to quiet down as we get into deeper this upcoming week.